But Mr. Neugebauer, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gensler, I have some serious concerns about the high cost and the severe consequences and burdens that these Dodd-Frank is going to be putting on a number of different agencies. And I've asked all of the entities that are affected by Dodd-Frank to furnish us information of what is the startup cost and what is the continuation cost of just implementing Dodd-Frank. I have heard from your counterparts on either side. I got a nice thank you letter for me sending you a letter, but I'm looking for a little bit more robust and detailed response to that letter from your agency as well.
I think that you received it this morning, and I apologize if maybe just in the transit you weren't aware, but I'm glad to take any questions about the letter.
Thank you. Well, I think one of the things we saw in the President's budget that he laid out, that he's estimating that it's a $6.5 billion number to implement Dodd-Frank, and maybe going to hire over 5,000 new people. I believe that number when we do the calculations, and I think when we get some history on that, I think it's going to be a much bigger number than that. But one of the things I'm concerned about is, for example, the CFTC's Chief Compliance Officer rule requires firms to designate a Chief Compliance Officer, establish and administer a complete new set of compliance policies, including implementation and compliance with hundreds of pages of business conduct rules, prepare an annual report to regulators, perform a review of every requirement under the Commodity Exchange Act, and your agency's estimate of what this would cost the market participants is $13,600. Everybody else out there that is about to implement this said this is going to cost millions of dollars to comply with that. And so one of the things that I think is flawed about this in the fact that we are accelerating this process and putting these rules out at record levels, we're not doing any cost-benefit analysis of these rules. And we've underestimated in many cases the cost of complying with these. And so as we talk about Dodd-Frank in the sense that we think this is going to be a wonderful thing for transparency and integrity in the markets, the question is what are the markets going to look like when we get through making them more transparent and operating with integrity? Are they actually going to be incrementally more transparent, and is there going to be incremental integrity in the markets? But what also the cost of achieving that? And what I'm very concerned about is long-term, we're going to be pushing those markets to other places. In fact, in the recent couple of weeks, I've sat down with some of the people that are participating in these markets. And these markets are looking for a pressure relief valve because they're looking at these kinds of costs. And for our smaller participants, this is an extremely big problem. And so I guess the question I have to you is, what kind of cost-benefit analysis is going on as you're churning these regulations out to actually determine the cost of compliance and the impact of that cost of compliance to the markets?
And if I might also answer your earlier question, in the letter and in the budget, this agency has talked about $308 million, $77 million related directly to Dodd-Frank, and about 240 positions directly related in the 2012 numbers. We as an agency are mandated by our statute, Section 15A, on how to do cost-benefit analysis, which was adopted many Congresses ago. But that actually rather detailed about taking into considerations about the price discovery function, the lowering risk, about the integrity of markets that you just to which you referred. We also asked in each of our rules a question to please help us as commenters come back with the costs, because those are important for our consideration before we move to final rules, to actually hear from the public. I think the figure you might have referred to, though I don't know every rule by heart, is within the Paperwork Reduction Act piece of it, but to comment on that as well as the cost-benefit analysis costs, so that as we go forward to consider final rules, that we get the public's thoughts on that as well.
So are you doing cost-benefit analysis?
Oh, absolutely, in compliance with our statute.
And when in the process are you doing that? Before you send out the rule or after you get comments from the rule? I mean, where does this?
It's an ongoing process, but it's pre-proposal, it's part of the proposal phase, and then it's informed further by commenters as we move to the final rule as well.
Is that cost-benefit analysis made available to the people that you're requesting comments so they can
yes.
kind of respond to your
Yes.
analysis?
And I don't know if Chairman Shapiro, we're under a little different guidelines, but yes.
No, we publish our cost-benefit analysis. Our economists develop data the best they can. They might use survey information. They might look to analogous rulemakings to see what costs were associated there. We see comment on the cost-benefit analysis, and it is, as Chairman Gensler said, further informed by the comment process. Oftentimes, the people who have the best handle on costs are going to be the industry charged with complying with the rules or implementing the rules, and so we are highly reliant on their information.
So is this a
Thank you, Chairman, and
Oh.
I thank the gentleman from Texas.
Thank you.
And Mr. May,